This right here is Citibike, a bike share service in New York City that lets you drop off and pick up bikes at docks anywhere throughout the city. But they have one dirty little secret they don't want you to know. But actually I need that bike, so 1 second. Now, personally, I'm a fan of the general idea of bike share, but to see why, let's first take a look at the alternatives. First, buying a bike. Not super expensive, but comes with yearly maintenance costs, the need for storage space, and the risk of your bike being stolen, and the near guarantee of being super sweaty whenever you arrive at your destination. Okay, what about buying an e-bike? Well, the pros and cons are similar to those of the regular bike. Instead, you trade not being sweaty for a pretty penny more in the initial purchase price and maintenance. Also, it's much more difficult to store, and you take an even bigger hit when your bike gets stolen. Okay, what about an electric skateboard? It's much easier to store than a bike, but it's still electrified and much cheaper than an e-bike. But the amount of cargo you can take on you with a skateboard is a bit limited, and there is the constant possibility that a crack that may be just a little bit too wide may send your face straight into the asphalt. So I'm a tad iffy on that one. But what about a car? Don't even start me on that. Traffic, parking, and I looked up insurance rates in New York and they are astronomical. Monthly payment for a 23-year-old male in New York City is, get this, $500. That's insane. So after taking all this into consideration, I opted on a bike share membership. To be honest, before I even moved to New York, I was part of Boston's bike share. For only $134 a year, I can get around the city much cheaper than an unlimited subway pass. That sounds pretty good. So what's the issue? Well, that was Boston. New York City is a whole different story. The same yearly bike share in New York City costs $220 a year. Wait, so what's up with that? Well, it's actually not complicated at all. It's not? No, it's not. If you take a look at the books, and I promise this is not a finance video, but we'll see that Citibike lookalikes across the country like DC's Capital Bike Share and Boston's Blue Bikes, and even Divvy in Chicago have gotten millions in government subsidies, or even partially to wholly owned by the city itself. But on the other hand, Citibikes is privately owned and gets no government help whatsoever. And well, this is causing Citibikes to jack up the prices on everyday New Yorkers. But why is just about every other city subsidizing their bike share, but not New York? Well, it's because they consider bike share to be public transit. And personally, I do believe bike share is public transit, especially in a city where less than half of the residents own a car. Not to mention the benefits members don't have to worry about, like maintenance and repair costs, storage space, and the inevitability that your bike will one day be stolen. But bikers won't be the only ones to benefit. More bikers means less cars, which means less congestion, which results in clearer air and quicker travel. It also means improved biking infrastructure, which means safer biking, which saves lives. And even convinces more people to start biking, which restarts this entire positive feedback loop. And for you never bikers out there, the more people that don't need to drive that are not on the road makes driving more enjoyable and more efficient for you too. The people that actually need or want to drive. With all these potential benefits, it just doesn't make sense that New Yorkers pay some of the highest taxes in the nation, but other cities still get cheaper bike share and cheaper subways. Make it make sense.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hi, I'm a New Yorker, and I ride Citibike. I've been riding Citibike since I was a young lad. I want to say I was just 22 years old when I bought my first yearly membership. You know, originally I had no desire to get into this bike share business. But an old friend of mine, we actually met in college, convinced me. And I haven't looked back since.
We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
But the biggest reason to fight for an affordable bike share program? Transit equality. For its compact size, New York is notably difficult to get around. If you look at a map of the New York City subway, you can see that Lower and Midtown Manhattan are pretty well covered. But as you start to look outside those areas, like Uptown, the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, they have subway lines, but they're not as well connected as those in Lower and Midtown Manhattan. And frankly, there are transit deserts, places where people aren't even a 15-minute walk away from a subway station. Even in the areas with at least one line, if that one line goes down for any reasons, like scheduled maintenance, an accident, repairs, well, you're out of luck. These residents are left with no other options. And unfortunately, these places tend to be in lower income areas where residents depend even more on public transit. But expanding the access to bike share is an effective way to close that gap. Now, I do have to mention there is a $5 monthly Citibike membership for people that are on food stamps, but that only covers individuals making up to $22,000 a year. And to be honest, I think that excludes way too many people just scraping to get by. Especially how, with recent price hikes, a simple 13-minute e-bike ride will now cost more than $290 it costs to take the subway. And that's with a Citibike membership. In less than a year, the price for a member to rent an e-bike rose more than 40%, from 17 cents a minute to 24. Getting across Brooklyn is notoriously difficult. To illustrate, let's say I'm at Maria Hernandez Park in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and I want to go to Prospect Park in Prospect Park, Brooklyn. I don't think Prospect Park is technically in a neighborhood, but that doesn't matter. The point of this is to get from this point in Brooklyn, the fastest way is to go the opposite direction. From Brooklyn into Manhattan, back out into Brooklyn, almost an hour-long trip. The bus route, while being more direct, takes just as long. Now one sec, take a look at this view. Prospect Park is pretty cool, huh? But that brings up the question, how long does the bike take? Well, only about 30 minutes, half as long as other forms of public transit. And even less if you take an e-bike, but that 30-minute trip now costs more than $7. That's more than twice the subway, and that's not even factoring the $220 membership fee. And let's not even get into the almost $16 this same ride would cost a non-member. This thing that's considered a pivotal part of public transit in many cities is starting to become a luxury in New York, and I don't think that's right. So what can be done about it? Well, one thing we can do is cap the cost of a city bike ride to that of a subway ride. $2.90. And recently there has been a bill proposed in City Council to do just that, ensuring that more people in these transit deserts and all over New York have timely, affordable, and reliable access to more areas and opportunities around the city. The City of New York has already granted City Bike the privilege to operate as a monopoly. The least they can do is apply a check to that power, or even better, operate similar to a city like Boston and outright purchase city bikes, and formally consider the service as part of the New York City public transit network. Thank you for listening to my rant, but if you're a New York local, I have one more tip for you, but you're gonna have to stay till the end to hear it. However, if you couldn't tell from the whole video, I am a big proponent of bikeable cities and safe bicycling infrastructure, but that's because these benefits are tangible and widespread throughout the entire city. But I do really hope New York makes these changes. But in the meanwhile, if you live in New York and this video has maybe convinced you to get a city bike membership, don't do it. Well, more specifically, don't get a city bike membership. Get a Lyft Pink all access membership instead. This is not sponsored, I swear. Kind of wish it was, that'd be cool, but it's not. The reason why I say this is because you get all the same perks as a city bike membership, plus you get access to bike share in other cities like Chicago and San Francisco. But sadly not Boston or Washington, DC. The two cities I visit the most. Lyft, if you could please fix this as soon as possible, I'd really appreciate that. Because I know you're definitely watching this video. All of this for some reason costs $20 less than just a city bike membership on its own. Who's paying for this option when for less money you get this option, which includes more benefits? I've legitimately searched for any reason to get the city bike membership over the Lyft Pink all access, and I couldn't find any. So if you do find something, let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, I guess you may as well like and subscribe. Okay, bye.